Hey, kids, are you ready for something extra scary? Well, buckle your safety belts, kids, because it's time for an exclusive Halloween KWJUDAS episode. Well, that's right. Judas is gonna tell his scariest stories on another host's podcast who's letting us use the recordings on ours. So get ready, kids, for the scariest stories ever told on KWJUDAS.
But I want to hear about this Camp Jeremiah story.
Okay, all right. I'm actually going to probably feature that. I've been wanting to do a podcast about this on my own channel.
I can send you the audio for this.
I don't mind sharing. I actually am wanting to go back there and try and maybe see if we can evoke some new stuff. Because what happened, at least the crazy shit that happened up there, was like over 20 years ago.
Right.
And I have definitely been back there many times since, and nothing crazy has happened. To give you a little bit of a backstory, I'll try and like simplify this, but there's not just one thing that happened up here. There's not just one story of Camp Jeremiah.
So where is Camp Jeremiah?
It's up Hobble Creek Canyon.
Okay.
And when we were kids, we used to go there ever since I was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And so it's a scout camp, and our families are always been real big on scouts. There. If you grew up in Utah, you probably have been there if you went to scouts, if you were even slightly active. Like even the kids that didn't go to church would still go to Camp Jeremiah with us, because that was one of the only cool things that we would do all year. And even like you'd go, even the 8-year-olds, like, what was it, wolf pack?
Yeah,
you're a wolf, then you're a bear, then you're a weebelow. So this was just for wolves, bears, and weebelows.
Yeah.
And it was just a day camp. You didn't stay overnight. But we would rent it out for like 4 days straight on, what was it, Labor Day weekend? Every year.
Yeah.
Because my aunt, she worked at the scout office, so she would get a fucking deal on it. And this was like our favorite place in the world growing up. I mean, it's like we would get home from Camp Jeremiah that year on Labor Day weekend and already be making plans for next year, like what we were going to be bringing.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah, that was like our Disneyland. So I loved the place so much that I got a job there when I got a little bit older, and I was living with my cousins. So I worked there for 3 years. When I was like 15, 16, and 17. And it was the third year that I guess the weird stuff started happening.
Like what kind of weird stuff?
Well, again, it's okay, how do we start this? The first time that anything really, like, we had an overnighter, and I guess I had some weird dreams of my own that were in relation to the camp. And I was talking to another person that worked there, the same girl who went to the hospital with me later. We'll just call her Jay, just to keep her anonymity, because I haven't talked to her in a very long time.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know if she she wants to be associated with this. So anyway, she is like kind of the star of a lot of these stories. I don't know, maybe she just attracts paranormal shit. So she worked there too. Mm-hmm. And we were like getting ready for night games, putting on our war paint. And I just said something to the effect of, I think something weird's gonna go down tonight, man. Like, I had this crazy dream, and like she just looks at me with her eyes all wide like, dude, me too. And our other friend had some dreams too.
Yeah.
So all that night, we were all just kind of on edge, and sort of like we were talking about earlier, when you're already talking about scary shit, you're already on edge. And you're already kind of like waiting for something to happen.
Yeah.
And so like that night, she went out and said that she had some kind of some scary stuff happen, like, you know, just seeing shadow people. And she had been passing out a lot, just randomly. She was going through some serious medical problems. That hard to say, probably not even really related or correlated, but she was saying something to the effect of when she was having these flashes of being passed out, she'd be having these crazy visions and stuff. So anyways, nothing terribly I didn't see anything terribly crazy that night. There was stuff that she said she saw. There was stuff that our other friend said she saw. There was one of them said they saw at the top gate, you know, there's sort of a hill that leads up to it. And they said that they were being led up to this gate. And when they got to the top of it, there was some lady holding a baby.
What?
Like, looking down at the baby. And then when the lady looked up, she sort of just vanished into the spotlight, into the street light, because there's like a street light up above the gate.
Wow.
And then she passed out again. So yeah, that's just the start.
Oh, that's crazy.
The first experience I had, we actually snuck in there. It was just me, 2 of my cousins, and 2 of our friends. So there was only 5 of us this time. Mm-hmm. That last one was like a staff party, so there was only the staff there, but it was still like probably 30, 40 people, I don't know. This time, we shouldn't have been there, but it was like, hey, we work here. We can just go camp there. We won't get in trouble.
Right.
Which we probably wouldn't have if somebody rolled up. We'd be like, we're here like every day. So It wasn't just like some kids breaking and entering to this camp.
Right,
right. Either way, there's a big caboose, the big train. If you went there, you might remember it. It had just this train car.
That's funny because I'm like it's like the pictures of everything from my time there. I'm like, it all is flashing in my head. Like I'm listening to your story and I'm like seeing it. So,
yeah, you probably went there when they still had the zip line.
Yeah.
They took that out because I guess some people did what we did. They weren't supposed to be there, and they tried using it without knowing what they were doing.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
didn't go so well. That's just what I heard. That's why they took it out. But anyways, now that, since you've been there and you kind of like, you're getting like a visual here. So we're camping right next to that little caboose. Mm-hmm. And 2 of us have already gone to bed because we can actually get in there, and that's where we were sleeping. There's like some bunk beds that you can sleep in there. So we didn't even need to bring a tent or sleeping bags or anything. Yeah. Which is another kind of cool thing. So it was just me, my the older cousin, and his friend that were just sitting out by the fire. And me and my cousin decide that we're gonna head just a little further up across that bridge that's just north of the caboose. It leads into the bikes course. There's a big gravel pit. I don't know if they had the bikes course when you went there, but that's where all the firewood was at. So we were just like, let's go get some firewood. And as we were coming back across that bridge, our buddy, he just pops up with a real scared look on his face. And he was just like, dude, I don't know why, but I just started thinking about skinwalkers. And my cousin was like, dude, shut up. Me, I didn't know what a skinwalker was, but I was super into like paranormal stuff. And I was like, what? You guys have to tell me. And they're like, no, we're not talking about that right now.
Yeah.
And the fact that they wouldn't talk about it just made me want to know even more.
Yeah. You can pull up your phone and look it up.
Can't do this to me.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll tell you in the morning, but you're not, like, it's just like one of those things you don't talk about out in the wilderness at night.
Because it's dangerous.
Yeah. And I'm just like, guys, you're killing me. And so, yeah, they're like, okay, you promise you'll tell me in the morning?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but just drop it. Please, like, don't. Because they were genuinely scared.
Right.
They grew up knowing about this, and I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And any kid that grew up hearing about that, well, you should know that you don't talk about that at night around
Right.
the fire. And even though that's probably where you learned about it.
Yeah.
Was somebody doing something they weren't supposed to do in the first place. So we go sit down at the fire, and no sooner had my cousin put a big old log on that fire did we hear from across the field the most ear-splitting screech I've ever heard in my life. More than any movie, anything. Like, real life. They can't be described. The only way that this was like a human... There's no way you could have faked just the tone. Like, this sounded like somebody losing their life.
It's this agonizing scream.
Just this, yeah, and it ended with a gasp. So yeah, it was just this. Ah!
Oh God.
Yeah,
That's scary.
and there's no way I could fucking replicate it. It was very much more high pitched.
Oh yeah.
And it almost sounded kind of inhuman, almost slightly animal. Which, yeah, there are some animals out there in these woods even that make weird noises. Deer make some weird fucking noises.
Yeah.
Cougars supposedly are known to make some weird fucking noises.
Right.
And when you kill a deer, supposedly, they make really... Like, if a cougar killed a deer across from that field, it probably would have made a pretty weird noise. That might even explain the gasp. Like I say, I try to at least come up with something that might say, maybe this wasn't a paranormal happening.
Right. I mean, this is something...
At the time, that's not what you're thinking. At the time, you're petrified. The three of us are just like...
Oh God.
You know what I mean? Just frozen.
Yeah.
For an innumerable amount of seconds. Probably like 1. Because you're just like, you didn't even have time to say, what the fuck was that? Nobody said shit. My fucking cousin grabbed the log that he just put on the fire, throws it off the fire, and we fucking book it into the fucking caboose. And we start just, what the fuck, you know, everyone just like hustling, bustling, clamoring shit. And we wake up the other 2 guys in the fucking caboose, and we scare the holy fuck out of them. Like, what the fuck just happened? Dude, you don't want to fucking know. You know?
This is incredible.
And so, yeah, we spend the whole rest of the night postulating all the horrific possibilities that could have been waiting for us outside the walls of this caboose. And the only thing keeping us safe are these walls.
Was there a door with a lock or anything?
No, you couldn't lock the door.
Oh no, that's even worse.
Like, we could shut the doors. It's better than being in a fucking tent.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure, but there was no lock from the inside. I'm pretty sure that when we were working there, you had to chain it up from the outside, and it had a padlock, if I remember right. And so, yeah, like, what are we supposed to do from the inside? So we pretty much just stayed up all night. You know, nobody could sleep, and we're still Mormons, so we like say our prayers and shit. You know, I don't think that like most of us did finally get to sleep by the time that the sun was about coming up, but I didn't. And I can remember hearing outside what sounded like footsteps, but it sounded like 2 footsteps followed by 3 more, like somebody walking with a dog or a child or something smaller next to them.
Oh God.
And then I heard what sounded like a shovel or a pick or something, digging into the earth. Mm-hmm. And these could have just been my mind just going nuts and just playing tricks on me. But I could distinctly hear this outside of the caboose while I was laying there just going crazy. And everybody else was asleep by then, and so I didn't have anyone to be like, "Do you hear that shit, dude?"
Right.
Dude, it sounds like they got a dog or something. I don't know. It sounds like more than one person. Fuck. We go out the next morning. Don't see, there's not really much loose dirt or sand to look for footprints.
Right.
It's mostly grass. It's a camp that gets played on by hundreds of kids every day. So, I mean, what do you even go out and look for as far as any clues or whatever indication of what that might have been?
Like to prove that something was there.
Right. So we still go over across the field. Back then, there was a little hogan. I don't know if you remember that. It was like this little sort of a cabin thing, and when you go in there, it stank like a skunk.
Yeah.
And they usually did like arts and crafts over there.
Yeah, let's go sit in there and do arts and crafts and smell skunks.
Right. We just call it the skunk house. But they got rid of it later. Anyways, that was where about the area where the scream came from. And so we go over there just looking for anything. Torn clothing, drops of blood. I don't know. I really don't know what we were looking for. Just anything out of the ordinary.
Right.
And of course, there was nothing. And all we had was just
to fuck with you. That's what.
all we had was our memories and our story,
man.
and we told the other people, other people that worked with, and of course they, like the older guys, were just, that was probably just a deer or a cougar or blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, man, I have a hard time imagining that coming out of it. Even a deer getting killed by a cougar.
Yeah,
But you go. That's gonna be right.
Sounds terrifying.
It was. Yeah. Between those two, it's hard to pick. My most scared moment I've ever been was either the moment we heard that scream out in the night, or the moment that we heard those noises down in the kitchen and realized that those were not people looking for us.
That's so scary.
Now, the other shit that happened up at Camp Jeremiah is still more fucked up.
Really?
I wasn't as scared, but still, what I saw was more fucked up.
Okay. What was it?
Let me get a good slurm of coffee. Is that pen still hitting?
Yeah.
We gotta get prepped for this one. This is a story I really, I don't share with very many people. Especially all these stories at once. I've kind of been wanting to take somebody around the place and do, I guess what you would call maybe a story tour, and have a couple of cameras, and go place to place and say, this is the place where this happened, and then I tell the story. And then we go to this part and say, this is the place where this happened. And I tell the stories. And we still have cameras just in case we catch something that, we didn't intend on catching. See, I don't like the idea of just going out into the woods or some haunted house with cameras and going, hello? If there's anyone here, give us a sign. Like, what the fuck? I hate watching those shows. You give people like me a bad name.
So what do you do? What's your approach?
I definitely don't spend a shit ton of money on all this fucking equipment to be like, look, there was a blip in our, in our fucking ultraviolet. I don't know, just. I hate that. And I've had a friend do this even. When I saw him, I took him up to Camp Jeremiah. He was an older guy who just had a little too much fucking money. Yeah. And he just bought toys. And he bought, stuff that's supposed to detect ghosts. And he's like, you gotta take me to the fucking Camp Jeremiah where you saw the fucking, and so I'm just like, all right, dude. But I don't think you're just gonna walk up there. And if there are any entities, they're not just gonna want to say hello.
Yeah.
In the middle of the daylight either. But okay, let's try it. And of course nothing happened. And I was embarrassed for him, just watching him walk around this field with this fucking electronic device in his hand, just holding it in the air, going, if there's anyone there, will you talk to me?
Jesus.
Just give us a sign. You look like an idiot. And I've got the good shit.
Right.
Well, I got the good shit. I don't go out and do that shit.
Well, let's hear this story.
So, the closest we've done to that, and this was also after a few of these happenings, my sister and my cousin, I kind of started telling them about it. I started telling a few of my family members about it because we all grew up going to this place. Mm-hmm. And I figured, hey, you guys want to hear some fucked up shit?
Right.
Next time we go up there for our family reunion, let me show you something, And so this was also, this is going to sound really awesome. This is the same year that the Blair Witch came out.
Oh God.
And
makes it even more scary.
Doesn't it? It?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it does.
I hate how, like, when I was growing up, too many things that happened in the entertainment world ruined shit I was already doing. Like, Jackass and Tom Green completely ended me doing any sort of stuff to fuck with people in public. I used to do all sorts of shit.
Right.
But yeah, then when that came out, it's like, oh, you're just trying to be like the guy on MTV. And I'm like, no. So anyways, we really, really, really wanted to believe Blair Witch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, all of us did.
Because we were already going through some real life stuff, and then this movie came out, and so like me and my small group of friends that were into this were just like, holy fuck, that's my shit, you know?
Like, that was your confirmation.
Yeah, like we're just like, oh my God, that's like a movie about what's happening to us right now in real life.
Yeah, like we can relate to this.
It's very much so. And so we thought we would take matters into our own hands, and we're like, hey, when we found out that the Blair Witch thing was kind of a hoax, if you would,
right.
and that those kids really weren't, it wasn't what we thought it was.
Yeah, they were actors.
And so we were like, well, why don't we actually do what we thought was going on at the Blair Witch? And we get my sister and my cousin, and because they don't know what's going on, and maybe we pull a few pranks on them and scare them so that we get like real fear, people really getting scared because they're already hyped up about all this other shit that's really happened up here.
Right.
And we'll have cameras out with the ulterior motive of maybe catching something scary on tape. Right. Because we had just got a hold of a camera that we were just filming all the dumb shit we fucking did throughout the day. So why not take it up to Camp Jeremiah and see if we can get a ghost video?
Yeah, that's cool.
But act like we were actually trying to do something else in the process.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two ponds up here, and the upper pond, the bigger pond, was the one where more of the freaky happenings had been occurring, and so that's where we figured we would bring them up to and pull our main prank, which looking back was just really fucking stupid. We were like, hey, let's have you two hiding in the bushes, and you're gonna like throw a big fucking rock in the water or something. Like, that's scary.
Yeah, that's not as scary.
No. And
that's easy to explain, too.
Yeah, and, like, maybe make some rustlings in the bushes or, like, weird noises. And they didn't know what to do, and so they still threw the rock in the water. And, like, I think they might have made some noises or something and maybe did some rustling of bushes of some sort, but they got out of there pretty quick.
Right.
And, we, like me and I think my other cousin, and then who worked with me, and then my younger cousin and sister, the two of them were the ones we were trying to scare. So we were like sitting there trying to make a big deal out of the fact that a fucking rock just got thrown in the water.
Right. Like, whoa, what was that?
Yeah, like really dumb, really, really dumb. You know, and going back and watching the whole thing was just fucking painful. And so, like, somehow we did something that finally scared him enough to, like, start screaming and run. And that's, like, how we ended it. And, yeah, we go back and watch it, and we're just like, this is so fucking lame. And then, as we're just kind of staring at the water, my friend points something out on the tape. He's like, what the fuck is that? And, you know, go back, rewind it, get a closer look. And again, this is kind of hard to describe, but if you remember, there's a trail that goes all the way around the pond, and then there's the mountain slope, you know, like across the other side from where we're standing. So there's a bit of a slope that goes down from the trail to the water, if you're following me here. Yeah. So it's like water, slope, trail, more slope. It goes all the way up the mountain. Now, this is important, because this figure that you could see was at the water's edge, and it looked like this hunched over sort of very skinny humanoid kind of figure, but really kind of like long arms, long legs. Can't really see the head. You could see like the shoulder, and it was hunched over, kind of like a monkey, but it was definitely standing on its hind legs.
Holy Christ.
But it was kind of hunched over. So it almost looked, at first we're just like, is that a deer? Is that again, like, is that a cougar, a deer? Whatever is that big that would be in this area. And it's like, no, the vertebrae is not horizontal. The vertebrae is vertical and curved, like only that of a hominid, of a human or monkey, with subspecies. Right. And they ain't no fucking monkeys in fucking Hobble Creek.
Yeah.
So, that's already weird.
Yeah, it's super weird.
So, this hunched over thing at the water's edge, then, without shifting form, levitates up to the fucking trail.
What?
And just shoots off to the left, fucking just vanishes into the dark.
You got this on tape?
Uh-huh.
No way.
And the odds of me being able to find that tape are damn near nothing.
Oh, God. Of course.
Yeah, fucking believe me.
Of course.
I want that fucking tape. Believe me. There still might be a slight, slim chance that it still exists somewhere.
Nice.
I highly, highly doubt it. And I've been meaning to ask the youngest cousin in that family. He still lives at that house that his parents lived at. But it probably doesn't still exist. But if it does, he would be the only person I could ask.
So did anything else happen after that?
On the video?
No, like just like that whole evening.
No, that evening, like I said, nothing scary happened, and we didn't see anything until after we went home and watched the tape and saw that apparition. We didn't even notice it while we were filming it.
Oh, God.
We went back and watched it, and that's when we noticed it.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, we didn't even know it was there until, we went back, and it was very hard to see. It took for my buddy to just see a little bit of movement in the background, and that's what made him say, hey, rewind that. And then the closer you looked at it, you're like, that's humanoid.
Yeah, that's
the shoulder blade was kind of what gave it away. Is you could see the back and the shoulder, and then you could kind of see the hip and the leg and the thigh, and that's where you're just like, that's not a fucking animal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so
and the fact that it didn't change form, like, if to make it from the river's edge or the pond's edge to the trail, you can already see the form that it's in all hunched over. You know what I mean? It would have to, its arm would move, its leg would move, and you can see the pelvis and the shoulder. You'd see that form would shift. It would change to climb back up to that the trail. It didn't. It stayed in that perfect shape, and like I said, it just moved up and then moved to the left really, really fast, and then just disappeared.
That's so scary. Man, what an experience.
So that is one of the biggest reasons why I want to go back out there with maybe just one or two people, and we all have cameras. And sure, we're going out there with the purpose of telling those stories and still putting it online. Even if nothing scary happens, even if nobody gets any good footage, we still went out there with a different purpose and at least got something out of it.
Yeah.
And if somebody happens to get something, well, that's an extra bonus. That's kind of how we did it last time. And accidentally got what we got.
God.
So, I do got to get going.
Yeah.
But this draws us to... because I keep telling you stories that happened after or before the main fucking event. I would have to say, from a religious point of view, up until becoming non-religious person, a possession.
Jeez.
Twice.
What, you had a possession?
I witnessed one.
What?
I witnessed two.
Oh man, you're gonna leave me hanging on that?
No, I said I got to get going soon,
Oh, okay.
but I saved the best for last.
Okay, yeah. Let's hear this story. Yeah.
So
this-
I'm
this
going
is
to
the
take
final.
off after the story.
This is the final story. Okay.
Yes.
Let's make sure we have enough tape rolling.
We're actually going to take a quick break, during which I thought it would be entertaining to at least show you guys out there a walk around of the camp. It's actually permanently closed now, unfortunately. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but I have managed to get in there. I wouldn't recommend anybody trying to get in because it's not easy and it's probably not legal. But I have gotten in there a couple of times and tried to take video footage every time. Every time I haven't caught anything scary, at least that I can find. So let's see if anyone out there has a sharp eye. And if you can catch anything in the background, please let me know. And now, Gumption TV proudly presents Urban Explorations with your host, Wendell T. Wallaby. I'm your host, Wendell T. Wallaby.
So the possessions of Camp Jeremiah. Dun dun dun.
Oh shit, we're recording, huh?
Yeah.
All right. So, the possessions.
Great introduction.
This was another time that we had just gone up there by ourselves. I hate to say broken, but pretty much we didn't really break anything, but we were trespassing technically.
Right.
We just went up there one night. It was me and the girl we're calling Jay, and our bandmate. We'll just say his name's Rye.
Okay.
And we were all in a band together. We were called Belly Button Lint.
Oh yeah, I love that band name.
We were the shit.
I thought that was the coolest band name, like Belly Button. That's so cool.
Sometimes people still remember me from that band, and I'm like, fuck, I played 2 shows with those guys.
That's
and
fine.
they probably only played maybe 5 to 10 shows.
Yeah, that name just, you remember that name.
So anyway, I'm stalling. So we were in a band together, and this Rye kid, he played drums, I was bass, she was vocals, and the other chick who had kind of witnessed some other things, she also worked with us, and she played guitar, but she wasn't as into the whole scary stuff. She's like, you guys go ahead and go back there voluntarily and fuck with whatever that was that fucked with us.
Right.
I'm good. So we took Rye up there. He didn't work there. He was the only one of us that didn't work. And so he's just like, I want to see it. So the 3 of us was like, all right, cool. So we go up to the waterfront. Just, here's the waterfront. This is where all of our weird dreams keep happening. Because at the time, nothing scary had happened there just yet. And she started talking about one of her weirdest dreams that occurred there, if I remember right. And she started slowing down very immensely in her speech and just sort of started dazing off and like, I don't know, just sort of like staring and not finishing her sentences, and the more she like kept trying, the more out of it she started getting.
Like she was slipping away.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah.
And she was talking about some beings, shadow people of a sort, but like they were beings that I guess inhabited this place.
Like she was seeing that as she was kind of like...
That's what she was, I think, trying to explain had happened in her dream at first. And it was her talking about this that, like, I don't know if it opened the gateway or what,
like, so
how you want to describe it. But the more she kept trying to talk about it, the harder it became for her to talk about it.
Okay.
And
like physically became harder for her?
Yeah, just the slower her speech became and the slower her thoughts were coming out of her mouth. And then it just started to slow down to like sort of just staring off, you know? And we're like even kind of, you know, like, are you okay? Sort of waving our hands in front of her face. And out of the blue, she fucking drops to the ground and she grabs her face and she starts screaming, I see him! I see him! I see him!
Wow.
And she fucking takes her hands away from her eyes and like, I drop to the ground with her, so I'm still at eye level, you know, and I'm like looking into her eyes as she takes her hands away for just a sec, looks up into the sky and starts screaming it again and just covers her fucking eyes. I see him! And I'm just like, what do you see? Who? You know, like, I'm just looking around like, I don't see anything, but she sees something, and whatever the fuck she's seeing, we must be fucking surrounded. You know, like, it's a very fucking unsettling thing.
Right.
Being told, I see him, and you don't.
Yeah, that's very...
But there's something there.
Yeah, that's very... Yeah, that does not sound comfortable.
And you don't know what. And, that's when she like kind of, so this happened a long time ago, and it's gonna be really hard for me to like get it in sequential, like how things happened in the order they happened. Of course, I'm not going to remember most of the things she said. I did write it all down. I've got like 10 pages of like direct quotes. You know what I mean? Like everything I could remember from that night, I went down and wrote the next day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I know I have at least 10 pages. But, so she hits the ground. She's screaming that she sees them. And then all of a sudden, she kind of breaks out of that and she starts scrambling around in the dirt, like really frantically looking for something. Like she just lost. And just like, you know what I mean? Like really hurriedly just picking through the grass and the dirt and the rocks. And so I start like hovering with her and I'm just like, what are you looking for? And she just, you know, and starts kind of like whimpering sort of thing. And like not really saying any real like words kind of thing. And then finally, like, I get her to sort of like stand up, and she's still kind of having a hard time, like even keeping her balance or anything. Like she's falling over and shit. And then finally, you know, like I was like, hey, Rye, kind of block off that, because there was a drop off there. It wouldn't have been too hard to just stagger and fall down those rocks down into this little fishing hole.
Yeah.
On the other side. Now would have been a lot harder, but at the time there wasn't much blocking that little area. So he's, you know, kind of like got that blockaded, and she just sort of stops and hunches over, and she's like facing that hole, that drop off, and she starts rocking back and forth and like kneading her knuckles, you know, just like kneading her hands, and she's just like staring down, you know, like a kid that just like got lost or is scared or did something really bad or something. And she just starts whimpering. And so I start just asking her questions, you know, and trying to get any kind of words to formulate. Because for a good while, she wasn't saying anything really like coherent. Nothing much you can make out, at least. And so, again, real hard to like remember exactly how things went in order, but eventually I got her talking. And I got her answering questions, and I started asking just really basic stuff, like, what's your name? And she told me it was Jenny. That's not a real name. But she said it was, this, you know, whoever I'm talking to. And I asked her how old she was. And she, keep in mind, she's still just looking down. Right. Like, there's never any eye contact. The whole time she's rocking back and forth, looking down, and just like wringing her knuckles, you know, the whole time. And when I asked her how old she was, she finally puts her hands out, and I could count 7 fingers. And she starts just doing this. And then goes back to wringing her knuckles kind of thing. And I'm like, so you're 7? And she like nods her head. And I start asking her questions about how did she get here? Where are your parents? And God, I wish that I would have known we were talking about this. I would have tried to find my journal that I wrote all this down in.
Sorry, man.
But she started talking about how something to the effect of like her parents, she's looking for her brother, I think, if I remember right. And her parents told them not to go by the water. And again, something to the effect of some people showed up. And the way that she put it is just kind of eerie. She said that it was like they had a boat, but they didn't have a boat.
What?
Like people walking on water.
Oh, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how a kid would put it. And they, I think, again, like, God, I wish I could remember something to the effect of they took her brother or some shit, or like knocked him in the water, pushed him in the water, or pushed her in the water. Again, I can't fucking remember.
It's okay.
Like I said, it's been so long.
Do your best.
Since I've even tried telling this story, or since I've read those journal entries. And I mean, I don't even really keep much of a journal anymore. I write stuff down, but not that you could call a journal. I've got like 7 different quote-unquote journals. But anyways, I just wish that I could remember more details about what she actually told me.
Right.
You know, I definitely remember the part about they had a boat, but they didn't have a boat. That part kind of stuck with me. And yeah, like I forget what finally made her start freaking out again. But she started rocking more, started getting more uncomfortable again, and getting more antsy, and then less coherent, started screaming again and fell back down. But it wasn't like at all like it was the first time. Like she fell back down and started kind of doing these convulsions sort of things. And I think she even started doing the whole like looking through the grass, like looking for something. But I do remember that she fell back down on her back, and it was almost like the same when I fell down with her, and she had her eyes covered, and then when she uncovered her eyes, it's like she was back.
Weird.
Like, you know, just like looking in her eyes, you could see that the lights were back on.
Holy hell.
And she got up, and she was just like, by now the sun was coming out, and she's just like, what are we doing here? And we're just like, dude, do you not remember anything? She's like, what do you mean? Like, we're obviously at camp. But she's like, I thought we went home. I thought that, she just woke up, basically. She felt like she was just having a dream.
So how long was she like this?
From the time that she was out of it, couldn't have been much more than an hour.
Okay. So it's not like hours and you guys are just like, well, she was like, I would have been taken to a hospital after like an hour. Okay, we gotta get out of here, you know?
Yeah, it might have been a little bit more like the whole experience, maybe 2 hours tops.
Oh, man.
But from the time that like she hit the ground the first time to the time that she hit the ground the second time, that couldn't have been more than an hour. I mean, again, it's still hard to say because it was such a long time ago.
What a scary story.
So we didn't have time to explain. We were just like, okay, you're back. Let's get the fuck out of here. And we kind of just like, as we're speed walking back to the car, we're sort of trying to fill her in on all the shit that she just did.
Yeah.
You know, and she just still kind of incoherent, like, wow, that happened? And we're like, yeah. She gets in the car, and the whole time and she's in the car, she's just like, keeps complaining that her jaw is just aching. Which is a symptom, after looking it up, that they say, of possession. Weird. I guess that, just you get like lockjaw or something, I don't know. So the second time, this was when we were still in a band, and she and I were still working at Camp Jeremiah. Then a bunch of crazy shit happened. Our band broke up. We weren't working at Camp Jeremiah anymore. I had already been to the boys' ranch and graduated, and we decided we would be cool to hang out with again. Right. And of course we were like, hey, remember all that scary stuff? Want to go fuck with it some more? Oh, and this is after I'd gotten out of the ranch. I shouldn't be trying to get back into this stuff, because I was a good Mormon boy again. And I couldn't help myself. I was just like, man, there's something there, and I can't. Still to this day, it calls to me. It like wants me back or something. I don't know. And the second I pull up to that place, I'm just like, yep, I can feel it, and it knows me. It's like, oh, you're here.
Like 16, 17?
Yeah, this is about 17.
Jesus.
And so once I got out of the ranch, I was 18. And I started playing in another band with Artie Olson.
Oh, okay.
And Artie he was the kid who wanted to know. And when I told him all my scary stories, he's just like, oh, you got to take me to these places. And so I took him to the hospital, and nothing scary happened. In fact, he and I would break into that place and just hang out after a while. Like, we got comfortable there.
That sounds like something Artie would do.
Right?
it's like a total thing.
Once I got out of the ranch, I was just in a crazy place in my life and in my mind, and he was just the right person to spend that part of my life with. Yeah. Just a weirdo that...
He's an interesting dude.
Very outside of society type of mindset.
Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
And yeah, so like we went to hang out in the abandoned hospital, and like I said, like after a while, we would even get girls to hang out with us. It's like, hey, what do you guys want to do? It's like midnight. You guys want to hang out at the old abandoned hospital? Isn't that place haunted? Yeah, but we don't care. We hang out there all the time.
No
Whoa, deal. Really? Take us. Because, as I said, there was only that one time something scary happened. And now looking back at it, it's like, after having... like, it's weird that was the first time I went.
And then you kept going back, and you went and hung out there with Artie.
After a while, yeah. Like, the first time we went with me and Artie, we were like, okay, something scary. And then nothing scary happened, and then we just, like, sat there talking about scary shit for the rest of the fucking night.
So, did anything scary happen there?
No.
Oh, crazy.
That's what I mean. We got comfortable there. We got to the point where we're like, you know, I kind of like this place. We had like our favorite rooms to hang out in, and we weren't even like smoking weed or anything. So when I told him about Camp Jeremiah, he of course insisted that I take him there.
Yeah.
And
in his Datsun truck.
He wanted Jay to be there because it sort of seemed like she was the I don't know what you want to call it. The medium or whatever. Yeah. And she was the one that invoked the occurrences. That's why we felt so comfortable hanging out at that hotel or the hospital, because she wasn't there.
Right.
So she agreed to go, and it was just the three of us, and the same thing happened. Sure as shit. But it happened like way more instantaneously.
Weird.
Yeah, and it was like way more painful. Like, this time she seemed a lot more agonized. When through the whole process, really, she still fell down, and this time it was from like she just started talking about the last time it happened and just started kind of going off into a trance, and then she hits the fucking ground and starts kind of convulsing and screaming incoherently, and she immediately jumps back up. And like I said, this time she was like way more frantic and just seemed more agonized. And like, if hypothetically there was a spirit, she was fighting it a lot more.
Okay.
Or it was just, I don't know, like it wasn't working so well.
Right.
Kind of thing. And again, I went home and wrote down the things that I could remember her saying. And I remember that we did get a few more, I don't know what you want to call them, clues.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't remember exactly what, unfortunately. Again, like I said, I wish I would have known to bring that journal with me.
Oh.
You know, and maybe if we come back and do it again, maybe if you remind me, if you'd want to do another one.
Yeah, I think they just come back with the journal, and let's go dive deeper into it.
Word.
That'd be really cool. We should do that. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, maybe we should, because like I say, it kind of gets me wondering again.
Yeah.
It makes me want to go back and just like, I guess, refresh my own memory.
Yeah, we should totally do that.
So, if that's what we want to do, maybe we should draw to a conclusion, because there is one more fun little story that happened years and years and years later.
Okay.
That maybe I can tell you next time when I bring the journal.
Sounds good.
Because it was kind of like it got to the point where I had sort of rationalized all these experiences to the point where they no longer perturbed me. And I felt like I was over it, and I felt like, yeah, maybe some crazy shit happened, maybe it didn't. I haven't seen anything in so long, and I don't look at it through as religious of a perspective anymore. And even the possession thing, I had a friend say, that could have been a seizure.
Yeah.
And I was like, if you would have seen what I saw, then it's less likely that was a seizure than that fucking scream was a deer.
Yeah.
But still, I'm not just going to write that off as a potential possibility.
Right.
The odds that one person would have a seizure who's not prone to seizures in the same spot twice, and then supposedly my cousin who was there during that quote-unquote prank, she supposedly went back up there and had something similar happen to her, where she kind of lost control of her own body, and I really wasn't able to talk to her as much about that experience, but she doesn't really remember most of it. So
sounds so scary.
It's like, are you going to tell me that this place induces seizures? Not terribly likely. Either way, it had been long enough that the time had sort of buried the shock. Mm-hmm. And then we rented that camp out only a few years ago, and one of my other sisters was there, and she came up to me and asked what the fuck happened up here. Mm-hmm. And well, that's the story we can tell next time.
Fuck yeah. Awesome. Cool, man.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
I've been doing my podcast for 7 fucking years, KWJUDAS, and this is the first time someone's had me on theirs.
Well, welcome. It's fun.
So
this is awesome. We'll do more.
Oh yeah. I will be back.
We'd like to thank you for joining us here on another spooky episode of KWJUDAS here on Free Radio Provo. We now turn you back to our regular free radio programming.